Are you making offers in this crazy real estate market and struggling to get them accepted? I'm Garrett Stewart, and I'm here to give you 7 tips to get your offer accepted in these multiple offer situations. So let's take a look. Number 1, make your best offer up front. Now, this might be self-explanatory in a lot of situations, but previously, when we were doing multiple offer situations, we were coming across situations where you could make an offer and be like, worst case scenario, they counter offer and come back. Well, now that we have lots of multiple offer situations of people making, I've been on deals where there's 10 other offers or more on the table. You don't have the luxury of doing that and hoping that they counter your offer. Now, you're gonna make your best offer up front and hope that they get that accepted. So, get the best price point right there at the front and don't expect them to counter you. They're either gonna accept it or they won't in most situations. Number 2, know the seller's terms. Now, if you learn their situation and figure out their terms, which your agent's going to help do that for you, at least they should. Figuring out these terms and situations, maybe they're looking to relocate, they might need a little extra time after closing to purchase another house, move out, so they might need a longer escrow period or what's called a rent back, which is where they live in the property longer after it closes and they could pay rent back to you in that way. So sometimes they just want those funds as quick as possible, but just need to stay in the house a little bit longer to secure another property or relocate to another area. So finding out those terms, maybe they need that money ASAP, they need a quick close, get out of there. It might even be vacant. They just want to be done with that property. We see that as well. And so finding out those terms up front, because at the end of the day, it might not just be price that makes a deal. It could be the terms upon it. So making sure that your agent is calling the listing agent and learning about this property, this seller, and what's going to best help your offer stand out above all other offers is going to be crucial in these situations. All right, number 3, paying and covering your own closing costs. So once you decide to make an offer and you're looking over the costs to close, that's going to include your down payment and then of course your closing costs and prepaids and things like that. All those things that you're going to have to write a check for or wire funds for at the day of closing. And those funds can run a little bit high, so sometimes we do have clients that request closing costs paid for. Those are things they can ask the seller to cover at closing. But in the situation with multiple offers, not only does the seller, they want top dollar and make net the most amount possible, it also is a little bit iffy for a seller looking to pick a buyer in that situation because they might not have enough funds to close if a situation changes. Maybe the appraisal comes in short, and they want the buyer to make up some funds for that. That might be a situation where the buyer won't be able to do that. So if they have a buyer that is able to pay their own closing costs versus not, but they're netting the same, they're going to choose the buyer that has their own closing costs, they can pay for their own closing costs. It's just going to show a little bit more security. Number 4, writing a higher earnest money amount. Now what I mean by this is traditionally in most offers here in Reno, Nevada area, in all of northern Nevada, you're going to, I would say the very minimum, write an earnest money around $1,000 is pretty much, you don't really want to go lower than that in this climate that we're in right now. But if you can go higher, which your earnest money goes 100% towards your down payment. So just take note of that. If you're already going to be writing a check for a down payment of say 3% of a $300,000 house, that's $9,000. So basically you're just prepaying these down payments ahead of time. It's your commitment and promise you're going to follow through with the deal. So if you don't follow through with the deal and there's no contingencies protecting you, you do put that at risk. But in most situations, an offer is written to protect the buyer with situations like inspections, appraisal, getting your loan qualified. So if you don't qualify, let's just say tomorrow you lose your job, and you already accepted offer, paid your earnest money, you would still get that earnest money back as written in the contract. So just as long as it is written in, always be sure and ask, but in that situation, there's so many protections that are available in an offer that if you were to, predicament were to happen, you could still get that back. But always verify with your agent what cases that will be. But instead of doing $1,000 or 1% is a very common number as well. Instead of doing those numbers, go a little bit higher, and it's gonna show a little bit stronger of an offer in situations because they've got more skin in the game. Don't ask for repair request allowances. Now, in Northern Nevada, what we have here is essentially when we request for inspections to be done, I still highly recommend you do get inspections done. We have a line in the contract that says our seller is willing to pay X number of dollars towards repairs. So it's a guarantee that the seller is going to make at least $500, $1,000 towards repairs. And if you are nervous about those certain things in the house, it's a great way to have a little bit of peace of mind that something's going to be taken care of. Now, at the end of the day, a seller that has the opportunity to not have to take care of repairs during an escrow process, they're going to jump on that because it's going to be a lot easier for them to not even have to worry about that. Now, if you have inspections done, let's just say you write $0 in the allowance, which is a great recommendation if you feel comfortable enough making some small repairs yourself. Maybe there's a leaky faucet or a leaky pipe that just needs to be changed out. Instead of asking for that $200 repair, taking care of it yourself post-closing is going to look better on that seller. And not only that, if there's a big issue that does come up in the inspections, maybe the furnace doesn't work or the AC unit doesn't work. There's something, the roof is like on its last leg and it needs a full re-roofing. Something like that where it's going to be a big cost up front, you still can ask for repairs to be done. So even just writing in that $0 in a repair request doesn't mean you can't ask for repairs to be done. If there's something in there that is concerning for you, you still have the availability to request those repairs to be done before completing the contract, or you could pull out of the deal itself. Now, always verify all these things with your own real estate agent just to make sure that the contracts are written the same. But here in Northern Nevada, that's how they're written in our state forms or our association forms. Number 6, remove or adjust the appraisal contingencies. Now, this one isn't for everyone and is a little bit more risky, so I don't recommend everyone to do it. But I have won offers doing this alone. With so many cash offers coming in from California buyers or just other buyers in general, we have a lot of cash buyers beating out these offers in multiple offer situations. And the advantage of that is a cash offer isn't going to need an appraisal done. And if that appraisal isn't going to be done, that's going to shorten the escrow period, so can close quicker. And not only that, if an appraisal was done, let's just say you offered $500,000 on a house, or it was listed at $490,000. You offered $500,000, but it appraised at $495,000. Well, what happens then is the bank will only allow a loan on a $495,000 sales price. So that $5,000 gap, if that sales price is going to stay the same, the buyer is going to have to make up that $5,000 gap. Now, in a cash situation, you're not going to have an appraisal, or if the appraisal's done, it doesn't matter to the seller in most situations, and they'll move forward or just negotiate different terms. There's no restrictions on that of what they choose to do. But in a buyer with a loan that has an appraisal done, if that appraisal does come in short of the agreed upon sales price, you're going to have to negotiate terms. And so some options are either asking the seller to reduce the price to match it, the buyer make up the funds, or meet in the middle. And so if you adjust or remove the appraisal contingencies, you have the opportunity to say, hey, so this is only if you have some cash, a little bit of extra cash on hand. You can say, hey, if the offer does go over, or not if the offer goes over, if the appraisal amount is up to $10,000 short, we'll make up the difference. So you can actually write in a number and say, hey, I'm willing to make up X number of dollars difference in an appraisal if that does come up. So right now you're actually not paying that extra $10,000, but you're just guaranteeing that you'll do that if it does come up, which makes that seller feel a little bit better that, you know, we are asking top dollar for this house. We did still get multiple offers, but the appraisals are taking a little bit more time to catch up, so it might not appraise. We are seeing that, and we have to find a way to meet in the middle. So if you do have those ones, you know, it could be $10,000, $5,000, or some people just remove it all together. They've got liquid funds and they are able to do that as well. Just always be careful with that and be sure you have an agent that's going to run numbers for you to make sure you're not going to have to write a giant check essentially. So those are my recommendations there in removing those appraisal contingencies or just adjusting them to have that extra $5,000, $10,000 lenience or more. Writing a cover letter. Now this one, I've talked to agents, some like it, some don't like it, and it's gonna be up to you and your agent to decide to move forward on this one. And what this is essentially a personal written letter from the buyers to the seller. Now, at the end of the day, most sellers care about their terms and what they net, you know, what their, how much money they're gonna make off selling the house, right? Is it going to be enough to maybe purchase a new house? So at the end of the day, that's most likely what they're gonna be focused on. But in situations where you have so many offers and maybe those top offers are neck and neck, basically almost the same. And this does happen where they're very similar. If that does happen, then what's going to stand out? And if you write a cover letter, maybe with a, and this one's even more debatable and it has legality issues in state by state, so always be sure to check with your agent. But if you include a picture of your family or the kids, the dogs, the pets, things like that that are going to stand out and say, hey, this is our first home, or this is our forever home, whatever it is, you know, showing that and have in the letter saying what you liked about the house, maybe some highlights, what you plan to do with it. We can't wait to start a family here. We can't wait to, you know, host Thanksgiving here, whatever that may be. You know, post what you're excited about or share what you're excited about in that letter. And, you know, emotions can make people act and influence them a little bit. So if that is the make or break thing, that might happen. I've had situations where I found out, my seller found out that it was a first-time home buyer and they appreciated that they were going out there and going after home ownership. She picked that offer because of that. It does happen. So it's up to you if you want to do that, but it can give you a leg up in a lot of situations. All right, so we went over a lot of different methods and strategies around getting your offer accepted in multiple offer situations. And these are just some of the top ones I would recommend. It's going to be up to you, your agent out there, to see what's going to work best for you. But if you have any other questions on these tips or anything else in the real estate market here in Reno, Nevada, Northern Nevada, or anything else, I'm more than happy to answer your questions for you. I've got my information right below. I'd love to help and answer anything for you. If you want to see some of my other videos, you can watch them right over here. Thanks for watching and have an amazing day.